Good morning, guys. Welcome back. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to be working with a 3D element to our project. We're going to be using clay today. This is actual natural clay. They do have some really fun products out there like air dry clay if you guys are interested in doing another clay project in your classroom so that we don't have to fire them. Most of my friends have been in the art room and done a clay project before. If you're my kindergarten friends, hi. It's so good to see you again. We're going to be doing a clay project. Now, this is kind of sticky. It's like mud that comes from the earth, really deep down, like under the mud. And here in Oklahoma, we have red clay. There are some places that we have this clay that looks gray when it's wet, but whenever we cook it in a special oven called a kiln, it will turn white. And what we're going to be making with these today is for kindergarten, you're going to be making a texture necklace pendant. So it's going to be a round piece that has a texture, which we kind of talked about with our color wheel lion. It's the way something feels. So we're going to be making a tactile texture necklace piece, and then we're going to get to pick some beads, and it'll be something that you get to take home. And that's going to be really special. And then for my older students, we're going to be making something called a texture slab slump bowl. That's a lot of words. So we're going to be making a textured bowl, and you can kind of see how on the bottom here I have a roll of newspaper underneath so that it could slump inside of it so it creates the bowl. Otherwise it would be flat, more like a plate. So we're going to be making a textured bowl. At this point, you can stop and get your supplies ready. I'm going to include some pieces of clay in baggies for my younger students, my kindergarten, who have not done this project before. And then I'm going to provide a slightly larger lump of clay for my older students so you guys can roll out your clay. You're also going to be getting rollers, my older group. You're going to be getting these rolling pins. You'll need placemats as well. Now these placemats, we usually use construction paper, and my younger kids, you will be using these because your clay project won't take as much time, and I'm not too concerned about the construction paper tearing, but because we're rolling out the slab bowls, we're gonna need something called a canvas placemat, and this is actually a piece of cloth that's dirty, but it doesn't matter, it's not like you're wearing it or eating off of it, right? And this is going to go over your table space. For extra protection for your tables, if you wanted to, you could put some roll paper down first and then put the clay placemat canvas on top. Because this can be a little messy, it can be sticky, it can also create a lot of dust. This is also something you could do outside if you wanted to. Once you watch the video, you could even take an iPad outside and watch it outside if you didn't want to do this project in your classroom. So gather your supplies and meet me back here. We're going to be doing my kindergarten lesson first, and then my lesson for the older children will be after that. All right, bye. Hi, kindergarten. So good to see you again. Let's make some clay. So we had talked about texture when we were making our color wheel lion, and texture is the way that something feels. So tactile texture is the way something actually feels. Like if you felt your hair, or I've got the sweater on, if you felt the sweater, or your jeans, or the bottom of your shoe, the bottom of our shoe. That is what we're actually going to be using today for texture. So if you look at the bottom of your shoe right now, hopefully nothing's gross on there. No, we're pretty good. Okay, so the way that the bottom of your shoe looks, you probably can feel that texture too. If you've got a pair of old shoes and the soles have kind of worn out, mine are pretty worn, but I still have some bumpies on the bottom of my shoe that I'm going to use to create texture for my necklace piece today. It's going to be a lot of fun. But first, we need to talk about our clay. So our clay is squishy, like Play-Doh. And when you get it, what I want you to do is make sure you have your placemat here and have your helper go ahead and write your name on your placemat. It can be anywhere, it can be at the top, in the middle, wherever. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna use your clay lump, right? It's probably gonna start out something lumpy and weird like that. And then I want you to roll it into a ball. There's a couple of ways you can do that. You can roll it in your hands like a snowball. You can pack it together. You can also roll it on the surface of your table. okay? And don't worry if your clay placemat gets a little bit messy. Now, there might be some cracks in it. There might be a weird flat side to it, but that's okay. I want you to try to turn this into a ball. And the word for a ball, a three-dimensional circle, is actually a sphere. So I want you to try to use that word this week, sphere, and look for spheres in your classroom. I've also included a shape scavenger hunt worksheet and a form scavenger hunt worksheet that I want you guys to try to do on your second art day, because this is going to take a while to dry. So I have my sphere, my ball of clay, and now what I want to do is I want to move to the floor. This is going to seem kind of weird, right? But normally we do clay on a table. This one you can do on the floor because it's only going to take a minute. What we're going to do is we're going to put our placemat down first. We're going to set our clay on top of our placemat, and then we're lightly going to press our foot on top of the clay to create a squish. And when we lift our foot up, the texture from our shoe will be on the clay. It's going to transfer. But I don't want you to slam your foot down. You want to just gently press with your foot so it looks a little bit like a pancake or like a little cookie, like a thin mint. You don't want it to be super thick, but you don't want it to be super, super thin like paper. You want it somewhere in the middle. So I'm going to show you really quick, and then you guys get to do it. I want you guys to take that clay, put it on your placemat, right in the middle, and then when you stand up, you're going to use just one foot, and you're only going to do this one time. You're going to use your foot, and you're going to press on your clay on that placemat, pushing down, and then you're going to lift up. When you're done, you should have texture, tactile texture on your clay piece. Now, after you're done doing this step, what you're going to do is you're going to have a straw at your table. Let me move this over. Okay, you're going to have your straw at your table. There we go. Where's my straw? Hold the phone. There's a straw. All right, so this straw, if this was a form, a 3D form, this would be a cylinder. And so it's got a circle on the top, and we're gonna create a hole at the top for our necklace string to go. So you're gonna poke it in up here. You're not gonna do it in the middle. You're not gonna do it so close to the top that it would break, but you're gonna stick it all the way through and pull it out so that you have a hole at the top, so that when these dry, you guys are gonna be able to put a string through there, and then we'll work with some beads and some patterns next time. Before you're done with this project, have your grown-up helper or teacher write your name on the back. You can use a paper clip that I'm sending with you to just write your name on the back, then let it dry on a shelf in your classroom on your placemat. Okay, I hope you guys had fun. Enjoy your shape and form scavenger hunt for the second day of this lesson. And then next week, hopefully these will be dry enough for me to cook, and then we'll talk about how we're going to decorate them. All right, bye guys. Hello, my older friends. Good to see you again. We just finished up the kindergarten lesson, the review of texture, about the way something feels, and you guys are doing a texture lesson too. So what you need is you need to make sure you have your placemat out. You shouldn't need water for this. Your clay is new. So as long as we're not squishing it up and starting over and over again, you do not need water for this activity. It should be minimal mess compared to a lot of my other clay projects. So you're going to take your lump of clay and you're going to put it on your placemat. The first thing I want you to do is use your hands to push on your clay. If you roll it into a ball first, it makes it a little bit easier to end up with a rounded shape. So now I have kind of a smashed pancake on my table, and now I'm going to use my rolling pin. And I actually don't use the handles on this rolling pin. I actually just put my hands on top of the cylinder portion of this and not the handles, because the handles are kind of about to break. So it's a lot easier that way anyways. Okay, so now I'm going to roll back and forth. I don't want to push too hard because then it will create an area that's kind of dipped in. And we don't want that. We want it to be nice and even when we're rolling this out. And we don't want to roll it out too thin. You want it to be about the thickness of a pancake that you would, like a frozen pancake. I know some of you guys have big fluffy pancakes and some have super thin crepe pancakes. But this is a medium thickness pancake, and I'm going to show you real close. So there is my pancake thickness. Not too bad. Pretty even all the way around. And I'm not even going to worry about the cracks around the edges, but if you didn't like those, you could just run your finger around them. It's not a perfect circle, but that's okay. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my texture choices. We've got a lot of different ways to make texture, and you probably have some in your classroom too. You don't have to use just the ones that Mrs.Marple has. When we were in kindergarten, we used the bottom of our shoe to create the texture on our clay necklace pendant. Today we're going to be able to use a couple of other tools. These are a little bit fancier. These are texture rollers. And I've used them for wall pockets. I've used them for fish. I've used them for a lot of different things. And so I've got different patterns on each of these. And so you guys can look at them and decide which one you want to use. Just make sure that you are understanding if everybody wants to use the fish roller, you guys are going to have to wait and take turns, and that's okay. So I've got all these really cool rollers. I also have some texture stamps. So this one is wood grain right here. It's a nice big piece. And then I have some of the smaller ones. So I've got music notes, Christmas lights, some Van Gogh swirls and spirals, snowflakes, and leaves. So you can use any of these, or you can use found materials around you. I actually used this cardboard for my first bowl that I made right here, going multiple directions, so you can kind of see that texture there. Sometimes it's fun to use found objects around your room. You can use marker caps, you can use pen caps, you can use lots of different things. Crumbled up newspaper to press into it. But today what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of my rollers. And I like this one that's kind of geometric. It's got some rhombuses in there. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll this across the texture of my clay. And I don't want to squish too hard. I don't want to alter the shape of the clay itself. So now I have a bumpy texture on there that I'm pretty happy with. Okay? After this step, if you make a mistake actually on this, you can always just flip it over and redo it. So let's say that you didn't like how the roller turned out, you want to try something else. Okay, so just flip it over, and then let's try maybe my wood grain stamp. And I'm going to lay it down, and instead of it being on a roller, I'm going to need to use this rolling pin instead. And I'm gently going to press it over the top of my clay. Ooh, I like that. So now I have a wood grain texture. And I like that better, so I'm going to keep that. And I'm going to stop with the clay, and I'm going to start getting my newspaper ready because this is a slump bowl. And so we need to have something for it to slump over, right? When you slump in your chair, it's like this. So we need our clay to have something to slump over. So we're going to use a newspaper, and we're going to roll it up. Just like that. Got my phone doing something weird. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry, Mrs. Jones was calling me on the phone. That was a weird sound. Okay, so we've got our newspaper, and I want you to put it into a ring. Like Sonic rings, right? I don't know if you guys watch that or play that video game. Okay, so now I have a hoop. If you want to, you can use a little bit of tape to hold this in place. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your slab, your flat piece of clay, and you're going to drape it over your newspaper. And you're just going to gently push it down so it creates what's concaved, which means it goes down. So you're going to make it go concave here, concaved, and then you're going to go around the edges and kind of make it look, I don't know what you call these, little curves all around the sides. So that's what it looks like right there. And the bottom is right there. What I want you to do at this point is when you're happy with the edges, if you want to smooth these out with water, you can. And then on the bottom, use a paper clip and write your name without poking all the way through. These are gonna need to dry probably for a week and a half, and then I'm gonna fire them back in the kiln. If you haven't had clay with me before, the kiln is a special oven just for clay that sucks up all of the water out of these, and when you see them next time, they're gonna be white. So enjoy working on your texture slab slump bowls, and I will see you guys next week, okay? I may include a couple of art activities for you guys to do for your second day of art this week, if you have 2 days this week. It might be a coloring sheet, it might be connect the dots, it might be a scavenger hunt of some kind. So, bye!